Hey gang, thanks for joining us for this next video. In this video we're going to be identifying rational decimal numbers. So you're thinking, what does rational decimals mean? Well, let's talk about rational decimals for a second. So rational decimals terminate, or they have a repeating pattern, and they can also be written as a fraction. So they can be written in fractional form. Because fractions are ratios and ratios are rational numbers. So if we can write it as a fraction, it's a rational decimal. It means it terminates or it repeats. And there are two strange, or not strange, but new to us terms, terminate and repeating, in this definition. So let's talk about those for just a second. To terminate something means for it to end. And so a terminating decimal ends naturally. There's no rounding. So that's what we mean by ends naturally. And sometimes your calculators may terminate a decimal early, and so it doesn't end naturally, so it's kind of hard to tell. But it'll end naturally. For example, the number 3.2 just ends. There's nothing there. We can also look at 2.1 or 0.211 or numbers like 8.725. All of these can be written as fractions and they terminate. There is no repeating pattern and they don't go on forever. For a decimal to repeat means that it's going to repeat a pattern. Okay, so it's going to have a repeating pattern. And sometimes it may not be something that we're familiar with. Normally when we see repeating decimals that have a pattern, they're pretty basic patterns. The easiest example for me to give you is 0.3 repeating. That's 1/3. And that repeats forever that way. Another one would be 2/3, which is 0.6666666, so on and so forth. Or if they're written in a form like this, you could also have 0.1 repeating or 0.16 repeating, so on and so forth. So these are repeating decimals. The pattern repeats. Other examples could be 0.52 repeating, which would be 0.5252. Or 0.123 numbers like this that just repeat on and on and on. And so those are repeating decimals where the pattern repeats, and then these are quite clearly repeating where the same number repeats over and over again. So this example that we need to look at says for each number determine if it can be written as a fraction. So it wants to know if it follows one of these two requirements. Is it a rational number? And so when it asks can it be written as a fraction, we have the decimal 0.54 repeating. This line is our repeating bar. It means to repeat. So yes, because it does repeat the pattern, it is a repeating decimal. We have 0.83 repeating. 0.833333 to infinity. It repeats a pattern. The 3 repeats over and over again. So yes, that is a repeating decimal. It can be written as a fraction. Here we have 0.4561, just so on and so forth. We don't know what the rest of them are, and there's no repeating pattern. So no, this is neither a terminating nor a repeating decimal. And then lastly, we have 0.86, and see how it naturally terminates. There's nothing else here. That is a terminating decimal, and it can be written as a fraction. So I need for you to go ahead and go through the example right underneath of this on your own, please.